Hi there guys, and welcome back to Spring Powered South African Air Gunner. Today we're coming to you from the pellet gun shop, and I've got a really interesting topic for you: shimming your scope. So first of all, what is it and why do you want to do it? If you're sighting in your rifle and you come to the conclusion you're running out of elevation to get your point of impact to your point of aim, now you don't really have any other choice other than to shim your scope. So if your rifle is shooting low, you're going to want to shim the rear scope mount. I'm going to show you guys how to do that. I'm going to do a demonstration of a shimmed shot on the board and versus unshimmed. So first of all, we're going to shim the rear mount. I'm going to get the rifle sighted in and put 5 shots on target. Then without moving the scope on the gun, we're going to remove the rear shim and tighten back down the scope onto the gun. We're then going to do another 5-shot grouping at the same target to see what the point of impact difference is. And I think it's going to blow your mind. So let's get started. Right, so we've taken a look at how to shim the scope, and what I'm going to do now is I'm going to show you the difference in the height of the impact at 30 meters. So we're going to take off the scope from the mount without doing any adjustments, remove the shim, and then mount it back on and put another grouping down range, and hopefully we'll be able to see the difference in the trajectory. Should be really interesting. So I'm just going to loosen this front one and see if we can't wiggle out that scope shim without moving the scope on the gun or in the mounts too much. That way we can attribute all the difference just to the scope shimming instead of movement of the scope on the rail. So we're going to loosen this guy up so that we can lift it up, and now we need to remove that shim. There we go. Tighten this one down first. And make sure. See, these scope, the scope mount still fast on the scope, so the scope hasn't moved back or forth. We're just going to tighten these down a little bit and get back to shooting. Right, so one shim out, and you guys will see the big difference that it makes. Still using the JSP 18.13, and gun is at about 150 bar, so should be in its sweet spot, which means we won't see any drop off there. Let's get the camera back onto the target and I'll show you guys what it does. We've been shooting for the right hand X on that shoot and see target. We're now going to be shooting for the left hand X and remove the shim, so we should see a drastic point of impact shift on target. I'm expecting it to land about, I don't know, about 15 to 20 centimeters below the actual target, but let's see. So that was our first grouping after I sighted in the rifle. I shot 3 shots, just adjusted it a few clicks. We do have some wind. Then took the shim out, aimed for this dot, and there's our grouping. So a nice and tight group. We've got one little flyer over here, but that is a considerable distance. So when the first time when I put the shim in, I was aiming for this and I was hitting over here. So it drastically moved up my points of impact. So this is very useful if you want to shoot further ranges or if your trajectory does not intersect with your line of sight due to an error on the rail or on your scope mounts. Right, so let's talk about what's happening here for a little bit. I just want to basically explain to you what you're doing when you're shimming a scope. So if you can imagine this, that the bore and the rail on a scope are exactly parallel to one another. We know that gravity affects our projectile as soon as it exits the barrel. So our projectile exits the barrel and starts dropping downwards towards the pull of the earth. Our line of sight does not get affected by gravity. So it's a straight line to whatever you're aiming at. So what happens if the height over bore is too large is you don't have enough adjustment in your scope to be able to make the line of sight intersect with the trajectory. So that way you never get a point of intersection, so the pellet never crosses the line of sight, which means you won't be able to sight in your rifle. It'll constantly be shooting low. So it's very simple to do, guys. A quick and easy fix if your scope is running out of adjustments while you're trying to sight in your rifle. Very easy. Get some cardstock, a scissors, the appropriate Allen screws for your scope and your scope mounts, and you're off. It's super easy to do. It doesn't do any damage to your rifle. Now it's very important to remember to shim the scope at the back, not the front. If it's shooting too low, you shim at the back. If it's shooting too high, you shim at the front. But in 99.9% of cases, you're going to be shimming at the back of the scope mount. So a simple piece of cardstock solves hours of frustration. Hope you guys enjoyed this little tip, and I'll see you on the next one. Cheers.